Hey loves, this is Bobby and I am here with my June Make Your MythTaker Readathon wrap-up. I got a total of 15 books in and I finished 2 full paths and I got traits from 3 others. I am so blown away with how well I did. I definitely owe it to the audiobooks that I was able to start doing, and it just kind of threw everything out the window, and I didn't even think I was going to be able to make 8 books, but I ended up with 15, so I'm just blown away. And I have already started my July TBR for the Popsy Culture Readathon, and I am having a blast with that one as well. So to go over the Make Your MythTaker Readathon, this readathon was hosted by Frolic Fiction and Shakar over on Twitter. I had so much fun. Basically what you were doing was building your character that you find in the fantasy genre. There were different types of characters in different classes. It was really fun. I had a blast. I ended up going with the witch, and I built off of that to build my character more and give her a bit of a background. So basically my character's name is Zenith. She is a witch who comes from a long line of witches who served the royal family. That is the only way magic can be practiced is if they are under the rule of a king or queen. My character Zenith's grandmother did not want that for her life, so she plotted to influence the king and queen into letting witches gather more and be able to use magic more freely so that they could help others. They did not like this. They called her a traitor and tried to kill her, so she took my character Zenith and her daughter away into the forest where they would live in exile. The king eventually makes a decree for witch hunters to track these witches down and kill them. My character Zenith's mother is killed, and later on when she is older, her grandmother is killed as well. I wrote a kind of short story outline for all this. I'll link it down below if you're interested. I had a lot of fun doing it. I did this I did 1 book as a buddy read with my friend Emma, who plays my character's cousin, and when their grandmothers are killed, they plot revenge against the royal family, and I'll get more into that with the later parts of this character. So for the witch path, there was 4 prompts to gain the witch trait, and for that the first book was a book featuring an animal. This is the 2nd book in a series. I absolutely loved the first book, so I was really happy to get into it, and this was also the very first audiobook that I did, and I really loved it. It was really fun, and that is for Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. This is a middle grade horror novel. This follows a young girl who has a near-death experience, and she is saved by a boy who is a ghost, and after he saves her, they get this kind of psychic bond to each other where he can read all of her thoughts, and she's the only one that can see him. Her parents are paranormal investigators, and they are doing a TV show where they go to some of the most haunted places in the world and document what they find. The first book is City of Ghosts. The second book, Tunnel of Bones, takes place in Paris, in the catacombs underneath the city. I really love the setting because I was supposed to be in Paris in May, but because of the pandemic I wasn't able to go, so I really enjoyed reading about it. The story is very fun, but at the same time it is very creepy. This was a great sequel. I think I liked it a little more than the first one even, and I am so excited for the 3rd one, which I believe comes out next year sometime. I went with 4 stars for this. Like I said, I just full-on enjoyed it. I thought it was just a blast. It was very creepy. I loved the setting of the catacombs. I wished that a good chunk of the book takes place down there, but I wish even more of it did because I just loved the atmosphere for it. So that is my first trait for the witch. This was the most hyped up and anticipated book on this list for me, but sadly it did not meet expectations for me, and that is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Marin. This follows the story of a girl named Lou who is a witch, and she is forced into a fake arranged marriage with a witch hunter for reasons that literally made no fucking sense. Like, she could have done such a better job explaining on why she had to get married to this guy, but it made no sense to me. It was so just, what? Like, I even read back, like, that's what you're going with. I did enjoy the magic system in this book, because there are different types of witches. You have blood witches, and then you have who the main character Lou is, where they have to kind of make like a sacrifice of themselves to use magic. Like, you can sacrifice your taste or your touch in order to finish these spells. I really liked that. I thought it was really cool, but just the actual plot for this and the romance, I hated it so fucking much. The romance made no goddamn sense. Like, she had more romance with a wall than she did with the main character, the main male character, whose name I believe is Reed. Yeah. Reed is a witch hunter. He is raised in this, you know, super religious, all witches are evil, and he doesn't learn anything by the end. Like, he stays a shitty person, and he continues to be a shitty person by the end. It's just, okay, I'm still gonna kill witches, but I'm still in love with this one particular witch. This was a definite, I went with 2 stars, and the only reason I did that is because I did like the magic system. I did like Lou at the beginning, and I try and save 1-star reviews for my DNFs, and somehow I did finish this. I will not be continuing this series. The next book on my list is for the prompt, a book featuring a magical battle. I was originally going to go with the Starless Sea, but I ended up winning this ARC copy in a giveaway, and I've mentioned the first one 100,000 times at this point, and I was reading this no matter what. No matter what, I was going to read this, and oh my god, oh holy shit. Holy shit. So for the prompt, a book featuring a magical battle, I went with The Faithless Hawk by Margaret Owen. Oh my god, this is the sequel to the Merciful Crow. I love that book. If you haven't watched any of my other videos, pretty much I talk about it in every single video. This is the sequel. I cannot go into really anything because this just got pushed back. It was supposed to be released this month in July, but it got pushed back, I believe, until August now. But oh my goodness, read The Merciful Crow because it is amazing. This was amazing. I went with 5 stars easily. Honestly, I would have been shocked if I was going to give it anything less than 5 stars because I loved it. I was a mess while reading it. It took me almost all month to read it because I didn't want it to end. The next and final book for my witch path is a book featuring occult themes. This is the book that I read with my friend Emma as our buddy read because she needed a witch trait for her character. Oh, what can I say about this? Well, I went with The Wicked Deep by Shay Earnshaw. I had heard positive things about this. Like, I never heard anything really negative. It was, the most negative is that it was cliche, but at the same time, people said it was really fun. I don't think I read the same book as anybody because this book was fucking terrible. Like, I hated it as much as I hated Serpent and Dove. I actually hated it a little more than Serpent and Dove because I didn't like a single thing about this. Like, at all. There was nothing in this entire book that I fucking liked. The plot was stupid. The characters, none of them are relatable or likable. There is a really gross trigger warning that absolutely nobody talks about. It is romanticized, and that is the rape of a minor character who is a minor. But it's glossed over as being romantic. I can't really go into it because it will be spoilery, but I do want to do a hate review for this because I fucking hated it. And I feel like more people need to talk about the grossness that happened in it because the mother of the main character in here was also, I wanted to fucking strangle her. This is another book where they kind of just romanticize mental health issues. The mother is depressed, and instead of her going and getting either help, talking to a therapist, getting on medication, no, she doesn't. She just pines away and lets terrible things happen to another character. And it made no fucking sense to me. She eats these fucking cakes instead of getting medication or getting help of any kind. I hated it. I kind of like, because this follows kind of two different timelines. There are three sisters from the 1800s, 1822. They are found to be witches. They are not. They just run a perfume store, but they are so beautiful that every man sleeps with them. Every man wants them. Women get jealous. They end up telling everybody that they're witches. They get drowned. They come back every year into this town in Oregon and drown a bunch of teenage boys. It was kind of hocusy pocus like, but really terrible, like not fun. I liked the two other sisters, but one of the other sisters I didn't care for. Like I said, I didn't like the main character. I felt nothing for the love interest. wasn't invested in the romance at all, because like I said, it gets kind of creepy in there especially when you find out more about what's going on. Yeah, I hated it so much. This was a 2-star read, and I might change it to a 1-star. This might make it as one of my very few completed 1-star books, because that is how much I fucking hated this book. So that is the finishing of my witch path. So my character is fully a witch with all the power and devastation that comes with it. Okay, I am here with the first trait that I added on to my character. This ended up being the shortest trait, since I just kind of added it as her background, since Zenith's grandmother was discovered trying to free the witches to being able to use magic. They ran away into the Fey Forest and became exiles so that they would not be killed. So the exile path was kind of important to it, but I didn't need to do the full-on path for it. I just needed a trait for it, since it's kind of just background for the character. I went with 2 books. I went with, the first one was for the prompt, a book with a dark cover, and I ended up reading Descender by Jeff Lemire. This is a graphic novel. It is absolutely beautiful. I wasn't really sure what it was about going into it, but I had heard it mentioned, and it's been on my shelf for years, and I'm so glad I finally got to it. And I just recently bought the 2nd and 3rd volume, which I plan on reading ASAP, because I absolutely loved this graphic novel. It was so good. This follows a android named Tim21, and he is a companion robot for a little boy. Things happened. He ends up kind of decommissioned for a number of years, and when he wakes back up, the world has changed and he just wants to find his little boy. But robots are also seen as these things that other creatures in the universe, because this does deal with alien species, are hunting him down because they think he holds the key to why the other stuff in the story happened. I really, really loved this. The artwork is beautiful. The coloring is wonderful, and like I've said before, I am a sucker for beautiful graphic novels, and I am so excited that I do have the next 2 so I can read them. I'm probably going to pause my TBR for July just so I can jump into them, if I can't fill a prompt with them for my my July readathon. The second book I read was actually one that I read at the beginning of the month, right before I did start the Make Your Myth Taker readathon, but it did end up fitting a prompt, and I wanted to throw it into this wrap-up video, and since I'm all dressed up, it did fit a prompt, and that was a book that is outsourced, so a book that you do not physically own. I went with I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid. This is a thriller, psychological thriller, very twisty-turny. I kept seeing it mentioned, and it was really short, and I really wanted to read it because it just had my interest piqued. I ended up buying it for my Kindle, and I'm really glad I read it. I think I gave it a 3 or 3.5 stars because I did guess the ending. But I really liked the writing style because as I've said before, I love unreliable narratives, and that is 100% what this is. You do not know what the hell is happening. Even though I did guess the ending, about halfway through the book, I thought I was wrong, because it was just so, okay, what the hell am I reading? What is going on? And it was really good. Even though I did guess the ending, I still really, really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that I read it, and it fit this prompt, so I threw it into here. So that is it for my exile path traits. Like I said, I just went with the 2. So next up will be the courtier. Alrighty, we are on to my 3rd character trait path, which is the path of the courtier. I did 3 prompts for this one to further along Zenith along her journey. For this path, her story ties into the fact that her cousin has infiltrated the royal guard as an assassin, and while she has gained the trust of the other members of the guard, she has found her way into the court and has slowly been spreading secrets and lies, and has even poisoned certain members of the court so that Zenith can make her way into the court as a lady from a faraway land that nobody really knows about. So for this particular prompt, like I said, I did three of them for this path. The first one was for the path, a book featuring a large cast of characters, and that was Beneath the Citadel by Destiny Soria. This was such a fun book. Like I said, I didn't know anything it was about. I bought it because of the cover and it had a really cool name. I knew nothing. Like, I didn't even know there was a big cast of characters in this. When I started reading it, I didn't even really know what it was about, because the back part of it is just a scene from the book. It was really hilarious with that scene. The cast of characters, I believe there are 5 main characters that this follows, and it does change perspective for each one of them, and each one of them you get a different part of the story. The plot of this book is that in this particular world, certain people do have powers, and there are different ones. The most popular are the Rooks, which they dabble with people's memories. They're able to take them. This group of friends, the main girl, are kind of like leader of the group, Casa. Her parents were rebels. They were eventually caught and executed. She has kind of picked up the mantle for them and is still trying to overthrow this government because it is very unfair the way things are broken down. And through this, they plan to break into the Citadel and cause some mischief. They do get caught when they are at their trial. They are all a bunch of smartasses. Like, it was so funny. Like, I was not expecting to be laughing, because when you look at this cover, you really think it's going to be kind of creepy and horror filled, and it's not. Like, it was such a fun book. When they are caught, they are sentenced to be sent beneath the Citadel, which is where everyone believes there is this monster or something is down there, which is what kills everybody. When they get sent down there, though, they end up finding this man who says that he has been living down there for a very long time, and he is the one that takes these people that are that are to be killed. He takes their final memories for them so they're able to kind of die in peace. But there is, of course, some shady shit happening. And like I said, for the big cast of characters, we have the main character, Casa, and then the rest of her group, which do get equal parts in the book. The next is Elise. She has kind of seer powers, but she never really delved into them. She prefers more of the alchemy side of things. She was probably my favorite character. She is also an ace character. She fully says she is aced. There is no romantic subplot or anything for her. I loved it. It made me so happy because a lot of times when I read books about aces, they always get shoved into these kind of romantic plots. Yes, I do understand aces can be in romantic relationship, but as an ace myself, I particularly do not dive into romantic relationships, and I was really glad to have another character like that. I was able to relate to her a lot and I loved her. The next character is her brother Evander, who they're able to gain powers through kind of like sorcery type of experimentations on themselves. He eventually gets bonded to a metal, which is silver, and he carries these silver coins and he's able to kind of control them, and it was really cool. I really liked his character. He is a out bisexual character. He's very kind of the brooding tough guy almost, but I really loved his character. I loved every single one of these characters. They each bring their own unique perspective to the story, which is really fun. The next character is Newt. He is a contortionist. Like, they don't say contortionist, is basically what I got. He's able to bend his body, and he's kind of the one that's able to break into places because he can bend himself into different forms to sneak in through small openings and stuff. His father was a known traitor to the rebel cause, and his father ends up getting moved into the upper side of this society, but he is shunned because he is known as a traitor to the rebels. Newt's is it is mentioned, but it doesn't go into detail about his father does abuse him, and he eventually runs away, and this is when he joins Casa and the rest of the group. I just really loved Newt. He was probably my second favorite character. He was just so amazing. He is, I believe, gay. I don't know if it specifically says he's gay like it does with Evander and Elise, but he does talk about having feelings for a male character. Like I said, I just really loved his character. He was probably my second. Elise just kind of barely beat him out because as a fellow ace, I gotta love her. The final group friend in this cast is Vesper. I always keep forgetting her name. Vesper. She is the daughter of the High Chancellor. She meets Casa when Casa's family is trying to burn down a certain government building. They didn't know she was in there. Casa ends up saving her, and they form this kind of friendship. But Vesper is also a rook that she is unregistered. They don't know that she does have these powers, but with the power of these rooks, they are able to take people's memories, and that plays a huge part in this and why I loved it so much, because the story is completely unreliable because there are people's memories getting taken throughout the entire book, so you don't know something has happened or something is missing until all of a sudden it comes out that this person's memories were taken, because since everything is told within each character's point of view, if the character doesn't remember something, you don't know it because they can't tell you they don't remember because the memory is just gone. It was such a unique take. I loved it. I thought it was so fun. The plot was great. I went with 4 stars for this. I was just blown away. I thought it was really cool. I'm definitely going to check out the rest of Destiny Soria's work because her writing style was really cool. The next book is for the prompt, a book featuring royal colors, and that is gold, red, or purple. I went with Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. Holy crap, I loved this book so much. It was so good. I believe I went with 4 stars for this. I loved every page of it. It was just so much fun. It was creepy. It was cool. This deals with a girl who, she has these, she is a bruja, which is a Latinx witch. As it says in the book, all brujas are witches, but not all witches are brujas, since it does have to do with the brujeria type of practicing as a Latinx myself. I loved that because I just never really come across the different takes of magic that have to do with different cultures, and oh, it was so cool. When she doesn't want, the main character, she does not want her powers. Oh, Alex. She doesn't want her powers. She doesn't want really anything to do with it. She has two or three sisters. I think it's two sisters. They have already kind of gotten their powers and stuff, but she doesn't want anything to do with it. So she tries to cast this spell and it ends up backfiring. Her entire family, because she is celebrating her death day, which is when a bruja comes into their powers. During the ceremony, she casts a spell, everyone goes missing, her powers are now just kind of out of control, and she gets help from a local boy who she had just met, and they end up going into this other world to try and track down her family. This is another LGBT plus book. The main character is either bisexual or pan, I'm not quite sure. I know bisexual for sure. I really loved her best friend. It had a really great friendship in it, and all in all, I love this. I need to get my hands on the rest of the series now. I love the paperback covers, so I'm probably going to end up rebuying this one along with the rest of the series for the paperbacks because the covers are absolutely gorgeous. But yes, I love this. I can't recommend this enough. I am going to read absolutely everything else by Zoraida, so yes, this is now, she's like now one of my top, I need to read everything she's ever written authors. The final book for my courtier path, I didn't know it was going to tie into this, but since doing the audiobooks, I've been trying to finish a lot of the series that I've started over the years and that I just never got around to. This is for the prompt finishing or continuing a series. I ended up going with The Last Star by Rick Yancey. This is the final book in the Fifth Wave trilogy. Aliens have came and taken over, and there are a bunch of just shady shit going on. This is one where you kind of keeps you kind of guessing along the way because a lot of stuff keeps happening. Kind of hard to talk about this because it is the last in the series, but I'm really glad I did finally finish it. I believe I went with 3 stars for that. It was fun, but I just didn't really connect with it anymore, so I couldn't kind of give it that high of a rating, but it was great. I really loved it. So that is the final book for the courtier path. Hey, we are on to the next path for my character Zenith, which is the monarch path. She has made her way through the royal court. Thanks to her cousin, the king is now dead, and the prince has fallen in love. He is a good prince, but Zenith really doesn't give a shit because she wants her revenge. But unbeknownst to Zenith, the queen does not trust her and has a special plan for her on her wedding day. So I ended up going with 3 prompts for the monarch path because I ended up using the 3rd one to cross over into my surprise path. So for the first prompt for this is a book featuring a queen. I was originally going to be reading My Fairy Godmother is a Drag Queen, but when I started doing the audiobooks, I ended up getting this one, and I had been dying to finish this series for years. I started this book when it first came out, and I just never finished it, and I'm so glad that I finished this series because I loved it so much. And I'm going to be unhauling this specific version because I just bought the new paperback versions because they're beautiful. I love the artwork on the new ones. And that is Winter by Marissa Meyer. This is the final book in the Lunar Chronicles series. If you do not know what the Lunar Chronicles are, have you been living under a rock? Because it's amazing, and it's probably one of the most well-known fairy tale retelling series out there. This is, like I said, the final book. The first one is Cinder, the second one is Scarlet, the third one is Cress, and the fourth one is Winter. Each book follows a different leading lady who is based around a different princess. or fairy tale because the second one, Scarlet, is more of Little Red Riding Hood. I loved the whole series. My favorite book was probably Scarlet, but I am so glad I finally finished it. I loved it. This was a chunker, but I did the audiobook. I loved the audiobook for it. I was so happy to dive back into this world, and I'm really hoping to do a reread of this entire series soon because I'm hooked again, and I just remembered how much I loved every single one of these characters. My favorite, though, overall character is Lavanna, who is the evil queen in the series. She is amazing. I loved the standalone novella that is based around her, since you get to learn more about her. She is one of those characters who is evil and just horrible, and I loved her. She was evil, but she did have depth to her, and I was just so happy with this ending. I went with 4 stars. I didn't give it the full 5 because at times I got a little tired of Winter, who is based around Snow White. She just kind of got on my nerves here and there, and I kind of just kept wanting to get to certain characters more because I loved certain pairings a lot more. Like I said, Scarlet was my favorite, and her love interest Wolf, I loved it so much. I ended up restarting this one. I had originally gotten, I want to say maybe about 100 pages or so in, but I couldn't remember for the life of me what had happened in this one, so I started it over, and really glad I did because I literally did not remember anything that I had read. I was so happy with this one. For the next prompt is the blanket prompt, which I had already did, but we can't double up any. So for this one was a book featuring royal colors, which are red, gold, or purple. This one kind of covered all of them except purple, but it was a beautiful cover, and that is Snow Glass Apples by Neil Gaiman and Colleen Doran. This is a comic book, graphic novel. The artwork in this is stunning. This is a Snow White retelling, but this is told from the evil queen's point of view. And in this, Snow White is actually a creature, and I totally just realized I read 2 Snow White books. I didn't even do that on purpose. I wanted to do the crossover path, so I was originally going to do most of this entire path for the Monarch because she was supposed to be my ending, and then I changed my ending with all these audiobooks, but I didn't notice I did 2 Snow Whites. But this was told just so awesome. Snow White is a creature in this, and the evil queen is just, this is one of the words that she is misunderstood, but it was really beautiful. The artwork, like, I can open up to literally any page except there are certain naughty pages. Okay, I didn't get a naughty page because this is an adult comic. Look at the color, look at the line work, look at it. Everything about this is just gorgeous. Yeah, I recommend this even if you are not a Neil Gaiman fan, because I do, even though he is my absolute favorite author, I do understand how he is a little odd for some people, but I definitely recommend this if you're into fairy tale retellings or if you want to try comic books. But this is really good. The story is amazing. I loved this take on Snow White, and I could not have been happier. I believe I gave this one 5 stars because it was perfect, and just look at that cover. It's beautiful. So for the final prompt, which worked as the crossover prompt for the Monarch over into the Goddess, I went with, it was supposed to be the book that is highest rated on your shelf, and this is The Green Mile by Stephen King. This is the first book because the edition I have is broken up into 7 short books. This is The Two Dead Girls. I went with 4 stars for this one because I know I'm going to like the whole story because I remember watching the movie and really loving it. But with this one, it was a little odd. Like, I loved where it was going, but at the same time, all it does is talk about the main character, who is a guard and I don't believe it says his name on the front. The guard, all it keeps talking about is his UTI that he has. It's very odd. I don't know if, I can't remember, I saw the movie years ago, like when it first came out, so I don't know if that plays a big part in the story, but literally they mention it about 20 times in this tiny little book that is under 100 pages. They mention his UTI a lot, and it's really odd, but where the story is going, I can't wait. I do want to finish it. I really like that it is broken up into such small sections because I can throw this in between anything and kind of just read it slowly. Like I said, this is, I believe, broken up into 7 volumes. So yes, this works as the crossover path into my next character, which is the goddess, which was the secret path that I did. Okay, we are into the final path, which is the secret path that I started working on, which is the goddess path. So we find Zenith on her wedding day to the prince. Unbeknownst to everybody, Zenith and her cousin have secreted in all of the witches that are still left into the crowd. The queen, not wanting Zenith to have the crown, since she still does not trust her, with the help of her most loyal of knights, they plot. Right before Zenith can say her I do's, the loyal knight steps forward and stabs Zenith straight through the heart. When she falls to the ground, surrounded in blood, every witch in attendance stands up and starts this chant. While chanting, Zenith's body slowly raises into the air, her eyes snap open, and she is revealed to be the goddess of witches, wrath, and revenge. With a snap of her fingers, the witches disappear, surrounding the entire kingdom. Their chanting gets louder and louder, and the entire kingdom goes up into flames, killing everybody and finally getting her the revenge she so desperately wanted. So that is where my character ends. I was so excited when I realized I was adding this path to it. I had picked up a book and it fit the first prompt for the goddess. I ended up doing all 4 prompts for this, so my goddess is at peak of power. So for the first prompt for the goddess path is a book featuring a non-human character. This one I went with Muse of Nightmares by Lani Taylor. This is the second book in the Strange the Dreamer duology. I'm pretty sure you know what Strange the Dreamer is about. If you don't, definitely check it out. I love the book so much. Lani Taylor's writing is just so beautiful, and she has one of the best world building writings I've ever came across. In this book, a character has died. We are now following the grief of it, and like I said, it's the second book in the series, and I don't really kind of want to talk all about Strange the Dreamer because I'm trying to wrap this up, but I'm really happy I finished it. I went with 4 stars. I didn't love it as much as Strange the Dreamer, but I did really enjoy it. I loved the ending, that it is kind of open-ended where we might get more from this universe, and I really hope we do because I just fell in love, and now I want to reread Strange the Dreamer again just so I can dive back in because this made me remember why I loved those characters so much. For the second prompt is the blanket prompt for this group, and that is a book featuring a cover with foil, and I went with Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I had started this book when it had first came out as well. I did the audio book this time. I wasn't really caring for it at first, and that was kind of why I kept putting it down, and I just never got around to finishing it. Throughout the whole book, it was a 3-star going, 3-star for me pretty much the entire book. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I liked certain characters like Hatta, who is the Mad Hatter character. This is a fairy tale retelling, and this follows the Queen of Hearts story and how she becomes who she is. I really did love Kath, the main character, at first, and then the more I kind of read it, all in all, I just didn't care that much for what was going on. And it all, though, came to a head, and it did bump the rating up for me, was the finale of it, because it was amazing and it had it, and I loved this ending. But still, like, it was just, I understand why I did put it down, though. I know why a lot of people like it, and I do get it. It was very good, but I just kind of kept finding myself going, why do I care? Why do I care? But the ending, the last like maybe 20% of this book hooked me in, and I just sat down and I just had to finish it because I was so excited to see where Kath went and how she does become the evil Queen of Hearts. So yes, I enjoyed it. The next one was the crossover book, which I already talked about, from the Monarch Path, and that is the highest rated book on your TBR, and that is The Green Mile. This is book 1, the final book, the 15th book that I finished for this readathon. Oh my goodness. This one was one I picked up on, well, the prompt is randomize your TBR. And I picked a total of 5 books, threw it into a generator, and this was the one that won. I had heard so many good things about it, so I went in with really, really high expectations, and it did fall a little flat for me, and that is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This follows to a dual perspective. These are 2 characters. One is a queen and the other is a girl. They live in the same kingdom but 1,000 years apart from each other. I really enjoyed the queen character, which I kept getting their names. Rial is the queen. I loved her whole story. Hers is very much a trials. She is found to have these, everyone has kind of these powers, but she is one of the first ones in a really long time to have all of the elemental powers, and she is put through these trials because they want to prove that, or prove or disprove that she is the, what is it? The Sun Queen. And I loved her story so much, but when it came to the second character, which is Aliana, I just found myself not really caring for her or anything really on her story. It was near the end where I really finally kind of got hooked on her, but for a good chunk of it, because this is a pretty big book, I just didn't care for Aliana, but I really did like Rial. The only thing that really kind of I did not like was the smut in this book. I don't mind smut. I will read smut easily. It's not a problem for me, but it was so just cheesily written. Like, I found myself laughing every time the narrator went into these scenes, and I'm just like, what the hell? This just, it came off very bodice ripper type of writing, which was really odd for the other style writing in here, because this is written, this is a very kind of like fantasy book, and it's very beautifully explained. I loved the detail, and then when we got to the smutty scenes, the writing got really immature and just odd, and I didn't like it, so it kind of kept taking me out of the story. But like I said, I really loved Rial's character. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to continue with this series. I have put it on the back burner now. This got I think 3.5 or 3 stars from me. I want to say it was 3.5. I'm really curious to see more about Rial, but just when it came to Aliana, I just really didn't care. When it came more to revealing what was really going on with her, I had already kind of figured it out, and I just, like I said, I wasn't into her story, and that's like the one problem I really have when it comes to multiple point of views, is that there's one that I just don't care about, and sadly that happened with this one. But I am glad I finally got into it. I still haven't, like I said, I haven't made up my mind if I'm going to continue this series or not. So that is my June wrap up. That is the finale for my Make Your Myth Taker. I am so happy that I finished it and that I did this. I loved my character Zenith so much. I'm really glad that I was able to finish, and that I was able to do the plot twist of killing my character off but rising her up and bringing her as the goddess. I was really happy to finish the goddess path. So yeah, thank you so much if you've watched this entire video. I had a blast doing it, and happy reading, and until my next video, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.